I'm currently 19 years old. I'm a student at the University of Oxford, and I'm the country manager UK for LetsLunch. I came to the UK only 2 years ago when I started studying at Oxford at age 17. And yeah, before that I was actually not an entrepreneur that much. I was working a lot, different companies, mainly because of my family background. Single mom, I'm the first person in my family to go to university, and they're not entrepreneurs. Like my mom's a fitness teacher. Yeah, so LetsLunch is an online platform to schedule offline lunches. It's very easy. You create your profile by syncing it with your other social media like profiles, so Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and we have an algorithm that uses data that you put in, like interests, locations, and time availabilities, and these existing connections you have from your existing profiles. And it uses that data to create matches to interesting people that you should meet, but you don't know yet. And then we suggest you a restaurant. You can meet the person for lunch, and afterwards you rate the lunch you have. So it creates a peer review rating, and based on that rating we then match you further with other people with high ratings. If you have a sustained high rating after 3 lunches or more, you also are eligible to meet VIPs. So these are very senior people, influential community leaders. So for example, here in the UK, we have people like James Minter. That's the founder of the Adam Street Private Club for entrepreneurs. We also have people like Colette Balou from Balou PR, which is one of the leading PR agencies in Europe. And you can just have lunch with these people. They give their lunches away for free. We don't pay them, you don't pay them. It's a completely free product to use. My first year, I actually snapped up the position of Vice President of the Junior Common Room in University College in my second week. It was an open position, normally only given to the second years, but it wasn't taken the year before, so I snapped it up, actually uncontested. But I did a very good job in that year. I also was involved with the Oxford Microfinance Initiative. I researched with a person in India. I volunteered for Travel Aid. I was actually quite interested back then in finance, because in the Netherlands you don't really have that finance, that whole scene. Consultancy is also a very much unknown discipline, and salaries are much lower. So for me, coming from a slightly different background, the whole glamorous, well, for me back then I thought it was a glamorous scene of this whole banking and consultancy with 45k base salaries, fancy dinners and everything. Whilst in the Netherlands, getting a 20k salary out of university is pretty good. Yeah. It had a big appeal for me in the first year. In the summer, I did a summer school in social entrepreneurship at the Social Entrepreneurship Academy in Munich. Currently it's called Global Summer School, and my team won. So my team was put together from about 5 people, someone from Singapore, Brazil, Vienna, Germany, and then me. And we developed a product based on water filtration. The only thing is, afterwards we weren't able to actually get it into the market because our team just was so dispersed in different markets that we couldn't work together, and also because we all had our different projects. Yeah. One of us was running a successful NGO, and others were currently graduating, and it was just not possible. But it was a very valuable experience, and I was already getting involved back then with the Entrepreneurship Society at the end of my first year. I was finance director for a while. Then I was very busy trying to find a startup to work with, or I had some ideas, but I wanted to get some more experience, connections, the necessary stuff to get something off the ground. But back then, I got into contact with a couple of guys. One of them was a guy from Let's Go Public. Back then it was called Let's Go Public, now it's called Prizio. And it was very interesting to talk with him about a startup. I saw a lot of potential in it. And in February, we met again at the Cairo Society conference in New York. And I was very much inspired there by some of the people I met, some of the connections I made there. These were very young people that weren't interested at all in making a quick salary just after graduation. And they all had confidence, and actually not only confidence, they were able to set up these hugely successful companies at age 21, 22, 18. I met a guy who was running a VC company, investment company, from age 15 to 18. He's currently 18 and he already doubled his money. So from all these very inspirational people, I decided, why would I waste 3 years of my life going for this salary when I can make amazing shit happen straight away? And from February onwards, I completely changed course. I had a couple of internships lined up, and I contacted the banks. I said, well, I can't do your internship, sorry, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. And well, they said, that's fine, if you want to come back, apply next year. And I didn't respond. I learned a lot of stuff. One of them, actually, one of the most valuable, is that an organization is only as good as its people. And when I was at the top, I had the opportunity to really choose all the people, which is hard, but it's also great by chance. So I had to make some hard decisions in just telling people, well, I can't give you a position because you're not motivated enough to be an entrepreneur. You don't share my vision. Like if you're just here to get a CV point and you're not actually willing to contribute your time, then I couldn't take them on. There were some people I had to take on because we ran on volunteers. It was a non-for-profit organization based on sponsorship. We ran on volunteers. So some people didn't share the exact vision I had, but they were willing to work so hard to get this CV point that I was like, well, I need some hard workers as well. But all the people around me in my sort of executive committee, let's say like that, there were about 7 people there. They all shared my vision on a very high level. So the guy that organized the hackathon this year, Owen, great guy. He's currently working at Google, and I learned as much from him as he learned from me, and I think he's going to be great for the organization. The guy, Eric, who is the Brooks director, he is currently, he founded a venture, Isabel Software. It is not, let's say, it doesn't have a very high profile, but it had investment offers of over 400K. So you have these amazing entrepreneurs in my inner circle, and they are able to impart their spirit, their passion on the rest of the organization. Like, as long as the guys on top are very much committed to the same vision of making it a real entrepreneurship society, as long as they're actually entrepreneurs and willing to contribute, invest in the society, because the only way to get something of value back is to actually invest in it, then you'll get a good result. So in 4 months, I more than doubled our social media outreach in some of our channels. I also managed to gain a partnership with Skolkovo, for example, which is a Russian government organization, for over 20 grand in pounds. I managed to get a deal with the Adam Street Club, where we're currently actually filming. I managed to get a deal with a PR agency, Bottle PR, in the Oxfordshire area, who all give us sponsorship, be it in kind or in money. I reconfirmed those as sponsored, upgraded sponsor contracts. It was hugely successful in only 4 months. And I think next year is going to be a great year for Oxford entrepreneurs. Unfortunately, I won't be president because I had to take a step back due to my other commitments. But, I mean, it was a great run, and I learned a lot of stuff. Managing people, doing recruitment, negotiating deals as well. Like with sponsors, with partners. It was for me a very valuable experience, and I would recommend it to anyone who wants to be an entrepreneur. Like, don't do it if you don't want to be an entrepreneur, because I feel for entrepreneurs, and if the guy on top isn't an entrepreneur, it's not going to be a success. I'm quite optimistic, actually. In recent years, well, the main successes of Oxford entrepreneurs have been a couple of years back, like the golden years, around the starting of Automatic, Plink, which was sold to Google. You had group spaces, internships. You had NACU, actually founded from Oxford Entrepreneurs President Victoria Lennox. So that we have a great legacy. But this last year, some great companies arose as well. And actually the last couple of years, every year there have been companies that are quite successful out of OE. They just haven't all been as high profile as they were in the past. Like, for example, LabMinds. LabMinds raised a couple of million and are now making sort of laboratory science education more accessible. And I think they're a great business, and they're going to make something fantastic out of it. Last year, like which companies I mentioned earlier, like for example Metopad, they're going to be a big success. Fito, the winner of the Tata Idol this year, I think they're going to be a massive success. They're a fetal healthcare monitor for mothers. So it's mobile solution, so they can see if their fetus is, well, to gauge the risk of any health issues with their fetus. So there's all these like very good products, although I think you'll hear more of it near the end of the year. Yeah, so the community is very good, although it is biased towards slightly older founders, in a sense, well, not just in age. I mean, undergraduate students are not encouraged as much to become entrepreneurs from the university itself. So in university statutes, you are actually not allowed to run a commercial venture whilst being a student. And you're also not allowed to have a job, by the way, as a student. That's because they expect you to do at least 80 hours of studying. And they won't complain as long as you get like high 2-1s or a first. But you know, if you run a startup, you're going to spend a lot of time in it, and it will probably be quite difficult to get a 2-1. So as long as, like, even if you get a 2-2, they will start complaining a lot. And actually, a guy I used to work with, a good friend of mine, Oxford Entrepreneurs, he had a business called Ox1, a discount card in Oxford. And the university asked him to shut down his business. The university proctors asked him to shut down his business, whilst he was also facing a takeover offer back then from Groupon. Wow. It didn't concern a lot of money, and he had to work for 3 more months to fulfill the conditions of the offer. But he could have had a successful exit, but instead his co-founder chose not to pursue the business, and he had 50% of the equity. He couldn't do it alone, so he had to shut down his business. Also, because otherwise he couldn't have finished his university degree, which is it's a very hard decision to make, especially if it's not concerning, you know, a glamorous Facebook billion or whatever. You know, if it doesn't concern that much money, and the university startup scene in Oxford, it's great for also medtech, sort of more hard sciences around, because we have great science parks in the area. We have the European Space Agency. Medical investors like Oxford Capital Partners, Out Capital. But for more software-based companies or internet-based companies, London is a lot better. Just to be frank about it, like Oxford, great community. But I think, well, it's hard for me to say this as an Oxford guy, but in some ways Cambridge is a little bit ahead. Yeah, so there's a couple of issues which can be brought to sort of clarify the situation. So Cambridge has seen some massive successes, like ARM. And Oxford is currently still in the process of gaining such successes. We have Oxford Nanopore Technologies, which is currently valued at 1 billion. But they've been working on it for 10 years with a corporate. It's a successful, it's an amazing business. They have like a human genome sequencing device of the size of a USB stick. But it isn't a business which can really appeal as much to, you know, undergraduate students, especially because it's a very much technology-based product, which you have to have all these medical degrees for. And then it took them 10 years to develop up to a product which is sort of market ready. And in Cambridge, the scene is a bit more software-focused, and the time from product to market is lower. The barriers to entry in the startup scene, you could say, is slightly lower because it's not as much focused on medical technologies. For an undergraduate student, often it's almost impossible to enter the medical technologies field because they just wanted the expertise to make such products, or nanotechnology, especially in Oxford. There's a definite investor scene in Oxford, but again, it's sector focused. So there's a lot of medical investors. There's a lot of these like hard sciences, we would call it, like nanotechnology. The European Space Agency is a great investor. There are some internet investors as well. Although like we have angel networks in the area, like Oxford Early Investment Opportunity Network. We have Oxford. We have Angel Ring by Ali Madra, and we have also just some VCs in the area. Although on the internet side, investments will come more from London, but then from the Oxford community. Actually from the US often. Okay. But I think you see it everywhere. Yeah. In the UK. Yeah. Yeah, I would give a couple of advices. The first one is don't underestimate the importance of networking. Some people say, well, you're just a networker, you know, you're a bit of a schmoozer, but you will never know how valuable those connections might one day become. You can meet one guy who seems to be slightly, you know, he's not really interesting, he has like this vague idea. A couple of months later, he might be the guy that raises 10 million from a VC and suddenly he's a rock star. So always spend time with people, give people proper respect, listen to them. Yeah, just network and network in a sociable way. Don't be a dick. That's actually a general advice. And then on the other side, I think you should also engage in some enterprise communities. So there's a lot of these peer networks out there, and for me they've been very valuable. So you have, for example, Sandbox Network, Young Entrepreneur Council, which comes from the US. You have Power of Youth, well, it's focused on slightly later stage entrepreneurs. And you also have organizations like, for example, NACU, but in Oxford it was Oxford Entrepreneurs, Kairos Society, which is global and focused on undergraduates. You have all these different organizations. There's too much to mention, really. But they are very valuable because you will learn from other entrepreneurs that are at the same stage as you or slightly higher, slightly more developed. And you can spend a lot more time with them than you could with professional angels or mentors. Their lessons will seem much more, well, they will teach you much more about your own situation, and that will just accelerate you. Like also, you'll get to know so many more people that can introduce you to others. It's just a power networking. It's like networking on steroids, these communities. So definitely engage in those. And things are not offered to you. You have to look for opportunities. And often looking for opportunities isn't that glamorous. So you just have to go online and Google shit all the time. Or you go to like one of these entrepreneur networks and you look at all the partnerships they have made. And you research and you want to have an understanding of the global entrepreneurship community, especially around youth entrepreneurship as well. Because then really you can take advantage of all these opportunities that are out there. So anyone can email me at all times at christopher@letslunch.com. You can also follow us on Twitter, so LetsLunch UK on Twitter, or at C1000. Well, that'll be written because my name, it's Dutch, you won't understand it from speech. Then also you can find LetsLunch UK, we have a blog, so it's letslunchuk.wordpress.com. The link will also be below the video. And yeah, please contact us if you have any ideas, if you want to get involved as a team member, or you want to maybe suggest some VIPs, you want to be a VIP. Get in touch with anything really. We're always happy to hear from other entrepreneurs.